What's up, traders? I'm Alex Copenhagen, your host, and if you've been following Bitcoin lately, I'm sure you know that there's been a big drop from the 6150 support. So we're going to take a look at that. This video is pretty important if you do want to have much more of a longer term outlook on what's going to happen with Bitcoin. So if you want my feedback on that, keep watching. All right, let's take a look at the charts. All right, so I have the weekly chart loaded here, and we're just using the liquid index that uses a different, a bunch of different exchanges. Anyway, so if you've been following, my videos lately or on my Twitter, then you know that I have been bearish for the last month or so. I've been talking about that we are going to break the support. A lot of people did not believe it. A lot of people were bullish for obvious reasons. I don't blame them. Even a lot of good traders were bullish because they thought, well, we're on support, so it definitely makes sense to long at these levels, which is totally fine. I did not believe that. I felt like we were testing the support way too much. As you can see, we kept testing these levels here. Pretty much, you could draw out this level, 6120, and once you test a level so much, if you continue testing a level, then you are going to most likely break through it, and we were pretty much in a descending triangle. Now you can have multiple patterns even on the same chart, inside each other, etc. So a lot of people are saying, well, we most likely are looking at a falling wedge here, which could be true. We could be doing that, and that remains to be seen how that will end up. If you've been following my advice, I was trying to tell everyone to, if you want, you can get a little bit of Bitcoin at these levels here, but save most of your money for lower levels. So if you did that, congratulations, I'm happy for you. If you didn't, then start listening to me. All right, so anyway, let's take a look at the chart. So we did break through, and I really want to go through where we think the bottom will be. Not because we're trying to pinpoint it exactly, but let's look at some different scenarios, different indicators, and see which indicators are what the indicators are telling us, and maybe there's a bunch of indicators that are going to be pointing towards the same levels. That being said, that doesn't mean that we want to wait for that level, right? Like if, let's say we figure out that the bottom is 3K, that doesn't mean that wait to buy till you hit 3K. You should be buying at different levels. Anyway, let's get started with this analysis. All right, so we broke through here, and we've been kind of we're stabilized here at pretty much 5,500 up to 56. So remains to be seen if we bounce here a little bit and then do a retest of 61 or 58 or 60, 61 and then go down, or we just continue down. So we'll wait with that till later. I want to be looking at where we think, what kind of bottom we are going to be looking for. All right, and volatility is back, by the way. Congratulations. So if you're an active trader, this is good for you. Just be careful you don't get, you don't lose too much too. All right, so let's take a look here. I've drawn this trend line as well. This is a trend line that is from August in 2015. We pretty much bounced off this trend line multiple times. We could obviously bounce off it again, although I do kind of doubt it. So in some ways, maybe I shouldn't draw this trend line, but let's just keep it there. Anyways, I believe that we most likely will, break through this trend line, but it's just nice to have it at least there to see what's going on and what we can expect. Maybe a small bounce before we plow through it. So I want to load up some EMAs, and this is the 200 moving average. This is already showing us that now if we went back to previous bull run, you could see that the bottom was pretty much, around that 200 moving average, right? We wicked through it and then pretty much stayed above it until we started our next bull run. So that's something to note. That's something to think of and keep in mind. I also have some EMAs I want to load up here. Boom, there you go. So what are these EMAs showing us? This is the 100 EMA, this blue line, a light blue line. And, you know, so that is saying 41, 4200. All right. Now let's draw out some levels. In fact, wait, let's for a second here. Yeah, let's just draw out some support levels. So, you know, I would say these are all support levels. We have some here as well. I don't know if it's even any point in drawing it out because it's so far down, but let's put them there anyways. All right, so we have the trend line here, and funnily enough, this trend line is coming pretty much close to this EMA as well. So maybe there is going to be some kind of bounce here around this region. There's also this falling wedge. I mean, you know, this support, diagonal support level. So maybe we're going to see some kind of bounce around this area here. That's definitely possible. Now, that does not mean that, you know, we're just going to go on a bull run from there or something like that. That seems extremely unlikely, especially given how steep this trend line is. We would have to do something like, you know, something like this, and then, you know, to me that just seems extremely unlikely. It could happen though, right? Let's load up a volume profile as well. What's going on? Why is it not? There it is. All right. That's kind of weird. All right. So I'm just going to use the visible range here to show you guys where there is the most volume. So if you know anything about volume profile, volume shows you volume by price. All right. So it shows you where, I don't know why it's doing this. All right. It shows you, you know, when, at which price levels there is a lot of activity. And usually that means that when price gets to a level that has a lot of volume, such as these levels here, this is called a high volume node. And usually when price reaches those levels, it sticks around there for a little bit. These blank areas usually means that, means that price does not stick around those levels when it reaches there. So what we can usually count on is that if price reaches a low volume node, then the price will either bounce off it or just travel right through it, right? It's not going to stick around that area very often. Now that doesn't mean that it never does that, but that's what we can expect. All right, so these are low volume nodes here, and what we should expect is that, you know, let's say that price comes down to this level here, around 4,200. That to me indicates that, you know, price will most likely stick around here. It could stick around and then wick up, but, you know, it could also just bounce off. It's not, obviously not guaranteed. It's a probability thing, right? So there's more evidence here that I've been saying on Twitter that I think the bottom could be 41.75, and it is because I've been looking at these things already, right? So in my opinion, bouncing off this 42 level is quite realistic. It is a high volume node though, so who knows, we might stick around there. If we end up sticking around there, then I don't think that will be the bottom, because I think a bottom will be pretty much a V bottom, right? The price will go down, and there's going to be capitulation, and there's going to be a spike up, just like when we spiked up from 6K over here originally in February. So even though my number is 41.75, and I kind of want to, you know, you make a bid for what you think will be the bottom, in some ways I feel like because it's a high volume node, maybe this is not going to happen. But if the price does come down here, it's definitely, you know, it's definitely going to bounce off this 100 EMA, but it might just kind of bounce off and stick around a little bit before going either up or down. So, you know, looking at this analysis, guys, what I am seeing is that looking at the EMAs, looking at the volume profile, what I'm seeing is that, you know, 42 definitely we could easily reach. I'm not saying we will, because there's also this diagonal support. So again, we could do something like this and then, you know, go down first, and that would be around 46, 47. So there's really these possibilities, right? 42 to 47 for initial bounce. But again, let's look at this. This is kind of interesting, guys. This is the 200 MA, and the 200 MA is at 3100, right? Another thing that's interesting about the 200 MA is that it's a low volume node, which means that if we were to go down to low volume to 3100 or 3K 3100, it's extremely likely that we just wick off or we pass right through and end up going to 26. Right. And you can see I've already, I mean, just not even looking at these things, there's support levels that I've lined up. One of my support levels is 4175. Because if you look over here, these candlesticks here, these green ones, show that this is a support level. We did wick through, we went up and we retested. So this is certainly a support level, which coincides with the 100 EMA on the weekly chart. Next levels that I've lined up are levels such as 2300, and I guess this is certainly a level that's, you know, we got rejected here, and then we retested here, and that's 2973, coincides with the 200 MA moving average, simple moving average. So yeah, I think these are the numbers that I'm looking at. 4275, 4175. But again, if you have spot, if you want to buy spot, if you're fiat and you just want to, you're not doing any margin trading, then what I would recommend is that you get some now, 25% now, definitely 25, 30, 35% at 4,200 if you believe my analysis. And, you know, I would maybe shove in the rest, or at least like 40% more at 3K. It's not going to go much more below 3K, I believe, but, you know, I could be wrong. So my initial thoughts like a week ago were that the bottom was going to be 4175. But right now I feel a little bit more uncertain about that. I kind of feel like it could go down to 3K 3100 and do a V bottom before possibly coming down here and then chilling at 4200 at this high volume node before moving up more, right? So yeah, I think that's really my analysis so far. 4175 or 3K. Those are levels to watch. They coincide with great support levels as well, historically. They coincide with EMAs. I don't really like to use Fibonacci, but for you Fibonacci fans, I shall do that. Let's take a look at Fibonacci here. So when did this bull run start? Let's turn out this volume profile for a second here, so it's like not as messy. So we started at 200, this trend line. So if we go to the top here, %78 retracement would be 4,300. So there's that too. I don't really like to use Fib so much. I feel like they're quite misleading and they make you make some bad trades. I know a lot of people like them. I guess you can use them for confluence reasons if you want, but that's really up to you. I kind of feel like Fibonacci is a little bit of a myth. So yeah, that's it. If you enjoyed this video, share this video with your friends if you think that I am providing you with some value. Remember to check me out on Twitter, Alex Poker, just you know, all in one, Alex Poker on Twitter, where I usually post my trades, what kind of scalping I'm doing, etc. And you know, I post a lot more there, obviously. So yeah, guys, until next time, keep it real, happy trading, and see you in the next video.